Hello, I'm Pam Hansen, and I'm very pleased today to introduce my sister, Priscilla Wilson, as one of our honorees. We started our lives in Arkansas City, Kansas, and a great deal of our lives were centered around the First Presbyterian Church there. There was never any question about whether we were going to church or not. That's just what one did. Our church was a very large church with a big balcony all the way around, and that's where our 5 choirs sat. Many of us from grade 1 through high school sang in those choirs. We would sing an anthem, maybe a response, maybe a call to worship, or maybe just an amen. But we participated in all services. In one of the books that Priscilla has written, she says, quote, "I sang my way to faith," unquote. We also learned the church was the fun place to be. Every year from first grade on, we went to church camp, where was the most beautiful swimming pool you can imagine, a tall tower, which we always climbed and felt like we saw most of the world. I think it was a little bit of Oklahoma. Our worship services were always held overlooking a beautiful lake. And somewhere in our lives at this camp is the time we were sent out on our own to sit in nature and meditate, thinking about what we were learning, trying to make sense of the Bible that we were reading. It was a big part of this camp, a memorable time. My sister, in my youth, went from being my playmate to being my hiking partner on Saturday mornings and my choir buddy on Sunday mornings. Then our lives became very separate. We went to different colleges, we lived in different places, I in Kansas City and Priscilla in Chicago. In my church, I became an elder, sang in the choir, and directed a youth choir. In Priscilla's church, she became an elder, sang in the choir, and was the leader of the youth group. She says she learned so much because she had to answer deep, difficult questions from youngsters for 10 years, and they expected wise answers from her. She studied her faith deeply during this time and what it really meant to be a Christian. I remember Priscilla being in a group in Africa, becoming deathly ill. They rushed her to the hospital in Nairobi, and then they left and went on the rest of their trip without her. Obviously, she survived. My next memory of where they were, Priscilla and Rodney were always abroad somewhere, doing good works for those who needed it the most. She was off in the Marshall Islands and then taught in Tonga for 6 weeks. Some of you might remember that some of these Tonga people came here to visit, and they sang in our church right here in their language. When Wilsons got here into Kansas City, Priscilla became my travel companion. We are both avid birders, and we started looking together and spending time together. Texas, Kansas. Then we moved right on to Africa and birded in several countries there. We also explored a lot of Central America and South America. Here at Village, Priscilla still had time to be very busy. She was active on the session, sang in the choir, and was teaching several classes. Her favorite class was Aging Gracefully, which I think she does. I think I missed that class. Her numerous committees that she was on, the most important one, as I say it, was when she was on the pastor nominating committee and found Tom R. I'm very happy now that we are members of this church. Priscilla and I have come a full circle. We worship in the same church. We sing in the same choir. I think she has gone from being my bossy big sister to being my best friend and always being my inspiration. Therefore, today I say, congratulations, Priscilla Hutchinson Wilson.